So this is your boy Terry. My username is surpassing Google across the internet. And in this live stream, I'm going to keep this live stream short. It's experimental, basically. I want to try to be answering questions, you know, um, questions that may grow popular on the internet or that people may be looking for answers to, mostly based on experience, without resourcing from existing resources. And I'll be answering these questions as much as I can. In this video, I'm going to be discussing Karma Up. I've not used too much of it, but I've paid attention to it. And these days, I don't need to use too much of an app to know what's going on with it. Um, I've used the internet for a long time, and especially since the Steam blockchain and Steam it's easy to analyze other apps pretty quickly. But I've been on Karma for some time, and I know some of the ongoings on the app. Well, I'll be discussing whether it's worth it. Note that I'm a legitimate illiterate, so my perception may carry context and maybe off key to an extent. Karma App is an application said to be built on the on the EOS blockchain, not said to be built, that's confirmed, because you can look at the EOS block explorer and identify the Karma transactions there, amongst other things. So built on the EOS blockchain that aims to reward good deeds. That's the mission basically. So when I started on there, I looked at it, and I'm just going to give you like a preview before I discuss whether it's worth it or not. So basically, its aim is to reward good deeds, and at the outset, it's measure of good deeds, because that's an important part of that such concept is measure of good deed. It aimed to reward video recordings of these good deeds at 90%. So there's a pool. If you're familiar with Steemit, you know what a pool is, that is used to reward activities on the platform. So their form of rewards was video recording of good deeds will be rewarded 90%, or I think, yes, and 10% goes to picture coverage of good deeds. Basically, they wanted you to cover good deeds, in some form of media. Now, upon arriving there, I saw that as, but that's me. I didn't see that as a very good way to measure good deeds. And for the most part, it had to be good deeds related to charity. That's what I saw that was rewarded most. So someone goes around and give food or clothing or stuff to people that many refer to as homeless and poor on the street, and recording it. You'd see some people and recording it in a video. Basically, people had to take steps to do that, many or several, in a bid to maximize rewards, which is not bad, but I wasn't so much a fan of it, because the world of today, the truth is no human is capable of exhibiting poverty. Many things that look like poverty is not poverty. There are no nations that are developed or developing. Where you say you're developed in infrastructure, the other nation that look limited in their infrastructure may be developed in the quality of the human culture, state of morality, stuff like that. Nations just simply complement each other. um, and the problem with the world has never been as such poverty, and the solution thus is not reward distribution. Moreover, the world is novice when it comes to matters about the world, really. Most times we rely on media and what has existed and gained relevance over time as the standard. But there's so much, and the books as well, which is recorded, which form curriculums that constitute world standards and form define many humans. But there's so much content contained in the notebooks. There's so much rare intel in the hands of the legitimate illiterates. This knowledge needs a revelation for knowledge to become whole, for the world to find knowledge that they can apply to use to attain full-blown humanhood and have a true expanse of knowledge. This things is unknown to the world, but most times because of being shaped by world standards, the pursuit of smaller things like money, we shy away from the down to earthness and want to pursue things of the outer space. Anyway, I'm blabbing basically, but there are certain worlds where those recording those acts is not something of fancy, where you gather children. I'm not talking of karma now. Karma doesn't have the fault, but I'm just trying to elaborate, expatiate on, relate knowledge that may be missing. Participants, especially from nations like Africa, there are tenets in the cultures there that you have to consider when want to record a video of giving out stuff. The world of the internet, the era today is different from tomorrow. When you gather children and make them appear impoverished, you're relating falsehood. A child that is dressed and maybe playing in the mud is not necessarily suffering poor. Children like to play in the mud, and so anyway, for those people, my advice would have been, present these people well. It's the world of the internet tomorrow. We know of possibilities in nations like Africa. A so-called janitor is beyond a janitor in his mentality, in his levels of ambition. They know of possibility. They know of a janitor becoming CEO tomorrow. And those things can come back to haunt them, where maybe they are seeking opportunities in the future, and then a picture pops up of them raggedy looking on the streets. And, then recording of these things, by world standards, this thing that may not be known as something that is not presentable, but some of you guys know these things, presenting, recording of these things. In most cases, you have to get consent of these people. They may not know of these standards, but it's essential because because you give out food and stuff, you should not demean the dignity of whoever. Nobody is raggedy. Nobody, just courtesy of your human. You are of substance. Those are circumstances. No food is not necessarily something that should give a typical person food and just throw it on the ground and he will toss it aside even in the midst of his hunger. Food is not the problem of many people. It's just the human shine that has been beaten into relegation and redundancy sometimes because of circumstance. Anyway, these things are bigger than the topic at hand. I'm sorry that I digressed, but let's go back to Karma app. So I was talking of the measure of good. What I saw is, at first people aiming to make videos, covering their good deeds and, presenting it for rewards, which is not bad. But I gave, a suggestion earlier in the days that, good has a lot of context. Giving someone food and stuff may not necessarily mean good. Look at the world deeply. There are so many charity organizations, it's not necessary that they're doing good. Some can do stuff for clout. Some can do stuff, to cover the other stuff. Uh, these things they're very obvious, but we don't look in those directions. So when it comes to good acts of good, it also has context. You can do good, give food, and throw the food at the person. Oh, take, here you go again. That may not necessarily measure as good. So, but besides, there's a wide span of context when it comes to good, and most of this good may not have to be recorded, or done in a way that uplifts the person, restores their shine. There are bigger things to give than food. you know Sometimes motivation, when timely, a pat on the back, on the man seated with his hand on the chin, actual care, clothes, and mentality adjustment, education, inculcating things that will enable them to become owners. Those are things to give. So it's a really broad context, and some of these things you can't cover in videos. Moreover, simple acts on the platform, like a timely comment, to someone that's down, or promoting the platform, or even curating content, on the platform itself. These are activities that constitute good. How do you reward this? Not everything have to be recorded. Well, not every good thing have to be rewarded. So recently, though, they changed. I don't know what the model is right now, but I know that they changed uh, the gauge. They changed it so that, anyway, the model was not working, because that range of good was very small. People would do were posting for a period, but how long will you keep going out to give food repeatedly every day and record it on video? How long will you do that? Even though there is incentive to do that, it's not very comfortable to go out and give stuff and then record it. So the platform, the content on platform started to adjust. People started posting ordinary any stuff that they want, just like Instagram, which I first foresaw was going to happen. You know, and I felt that if they broaden the scope of their good, then they will have more chance to hold sway because there are no barriers to entry. Of course, taking pictures a of a a shining flower, it may constitute good, subjective. It may make someone's day. So I was saying, according to me, that broadening the scope of your definition of good and allowing more entry will make the platform go mainstream, more mainstream. And on its own, it started to shift because people were, once people started to have more tokens and more influence on the platform, they didn't really mind what content they put out there. So it was beginning to change to an Instagram type platform where, yes, and the owners of Karma too were posting, uh, regular stuff. So right now there's a shift on Karma. You would see regular content, which is a positive to an extent. Removes barriers to entry and allows room for growth. But other aspects of Karma that will come back to whether it's worthy for different sets of people. So other aspects of Karma, which was understandable, but to an extent not so understandable, depending on which genre of audience you fall in, is the way changes happened. It wasn't like, I'm not comparing it to Steam, but blockchain in general. I don't know how it works on Karma, whether they have witnesses. I tried to find this information out, but there is no clear information and no real talk. No real response. I don't know if they have witnesses, but for a project to be solid, you don't really get swayed by emotions, by reactions of users, and sometimes you have to be stubborn to maintain the vision within your dream, especially in the early stages, so that it doesn't sway from its original intention and carries full potency. I noticed that they were they were triggered. Any situation that goes on causes a trigger, and change happens at the snap of a finger, basically. I didn't really see the impact of community or the say of community, which is not bad. Any project owner owns their project, but this wasn't something that intrigued me much. Having become familiar with blockchain and you know, um, especially if you are targeting to want to be in a decentralized platform. Again, depending on the type of audience, when you know you want a platform that is solid, so that you can estimate its direction. And so many changes happened, several times. And um, like one of the changes that happened, I had some karma that I got. I was hoping I could support people that are there, but I lost my health abilities, so I wasn't able to really vote on people, and the structure of the platform did not enable me to vote very easily. At the beginning, it took time for transactions to become recorded, and again, the feed. There's a way it's structured. There's no way I can show you the app now because it's an application, uh, but something you can download. Let me see if I can share my screen here. I don't know how it works. Um, let's see, just a moment. I want to see if I can get the link. But if you type Karma app on Google, um, you will find it. I don't think it has. Um, I think it's just a moment. I don't know how to share this. Choose what you like to share before. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen briefly. I'll just type. Anyway, there's no way I can show you, but if you just type Karma up, it should take you to a way to download their application. Oh, that's karma.life. Oh, no. Just a moment. Maybe I put space. I'll put space after Karma. I've not been there recently, so maybe there are changes that may have occurred. Let's see, Karma app EOS. Yes, so the website is karmaapp.io. I found it using Karma app EOS as the search query, and karmaapp.io will take you to a website that you can download the app from. Yes, so it's a good app. I mean, when it comes to its development, it started out slow, but it has really improved. It's now a standard app that you can present to anyone. I don't know if it's my internet that's bad right now. Let me try reloading it. I wonder if it's my internet that's bad, but basically, I think the app is still on my phone, so I know it's still functional. So anyway, the app is a standard app. You post content. When you get likes, when you get likes, I'll get to that because there are some changes that occurred. Which wasn't the case before. So again, the app is a standard app. You'll enjoy it if you like Instagram. There's a measure of community on it, so it's a measure of engagement. You can upvote posts, that is curate content and leave comments. And you can also tip So that's one use of the token, Karma token. The token is an EOS based token, so you can find it on EOS based exchanges. You can find it on Bancor and any EOS newdex.io or something like that. So any EOS based exchange, it has a value. The value has not really gone up. I don't look at value of the currency for the most part. I'm there to really love fellow humans, but I'll discuss that because some people can be into karma because of becoming investors. So I'll discuss that. So basically, it's a curation platform. People have influence. They no longer have influence. They used to have influence courtesy of their staked karma tokens. So basically, in the past, when you curate content, if you have staked tokens, then you can be able to distribute the reward pool to a user or to whichever user you vote on. But they changed that. Speaking of changes, the way changes happen is so easy. It doesn't, I've not seen it requiring consensus from random parties. So I don't know if they have witnesses. They just announce a change and it happens. So I told you of the change from 90% for videos and 10% for pictures. There was a change that happened there. I don't know what the current percentages are. And there was also a change from rewarding with your influence to more of a tipping model. So before you had additional incentive to buy the token because you can stake it and have influence on the platform, distribute some of the reward pool to authors. But they changed that and replaced it to a tipping. So basically you can get karma tokens and use it to tip your audience. Another use for the karma token is to boost your post. I've not tried to see the impact of that, but basically rise your content in the ranks. Uh, so now that the tipping doesn't, upvoting doesn't give out some rewards. I don't know if your upvote has an impact still on visibility of content, because on such platforms, it's not only distributing rewards that your upvote does, it also increases the relevance or visibility of content. So I don't know what the algorithm is. I've not really experimented, to see if your influence still has an effect on the visibility of content. Anyway, so that's another change. Right now, the incentive to buy karma is mostly to get a cut from a pool that is shared among stakers. So if you stake, then if you have staked your karma, then you get a certain amount of rewards proportional to your stake every day. I think, yes, every day. So that's another incentive, especially if you're on the investing side, to stake karma tokens. But I saw an update where there's discussion of removing that. I don't know if the stake rewards is a permanent thing. I don't really know. I've not been there more recently to really know. And I didn't get much engagement on the Telegram. I was blocked basically. I don't know why. So I wasn't able to reinstate my presence in the Karma Telegram. That's a long time ago, but I still been on Karma. So 3 days, like most EOS tokens, you can unstake in 3 days and have your tokens liquid. I don't know the current value of the token on the market. I really don't check. Um, so it does have a good concept, but some things, like I don't know if they have weaknesses, like I said, but changes don't have to really needs consensus. It's not a requirement though, because the owner of an application can have a say on. But I'm talking based on me and perhaps a measure of other people, especially investors. I'm sure they wouldn't want where changes just happen drastically, especially if they have large investments with the platform. Yes, but that's left to the owners of the platform. I don't know if it's open source. I've not really confirmed that. So it doesn't have to be. Maybe you know, again, the owners of the platform have a say. They have to be given kudos for creating something. It's not easy to create something, to innovate something, and have users. Um, User base, they have a potential for increasing in their user base because it's a very simple app to use. But these days people get tired. So an app needs to have an enterprise model so that true fans can accrue. There are people that will be true fans of good, but again, the app is shifting away from having a model to becoming a regular Instagram app, which isn't bad in itself. The solution to that is just to improve, expand the context for what good is, because of course, good can be many things, and then explore ways to reward, stuff beyond the superficial, like a video. Be really caring about the users as entities and their and real human growth, and then incentivize actions in line with this. It's good in itself. Anyway, so again, the app is good, a good app to use. It's now faster than before. You can, unstake on the app and get your tokens liquid. To get your tokens available on an exchange, again, it's on this EOS blockchain. So you just need like Link's wallet, an EOS terminal. I don't know which other one again. Like I can't remember right now. There's an extension for you to access EOS. Well, I can't remember the name. Um, Gosh, I can't remember the name. Anyway, but as long as you can link your EOS, you can access your karma. Your karma tokens. And um, there's something that was the issue before, which is a general issue with EOS, but it has been solved to a large extent. Where you always needed to, after a measure of transactions, your application no longer works, your activities no longer work. Then you need to get some EOS RAM and stake it. And there's some other resources, not only RAM, network. I think there are like 3 resources that you need for you to have transactions ongoing with the Karma app. When you don't have those, it will affect your ability to transact on Karma. But I've not been voting recently, so I'm not really taking note of how much of that resource is needed and if that's still a problem. Some application owners may decide to solve that problem on their own by providing these resources for their users, but I don't know if that's the case with Karma. Again, I've not voted recently, but I've seen that the app is really evolving, in terms of development, and it looks like a standard app. Now, is it worth it? Depends on your mentality. For me, it's quite worth it because I'm there to see people. I've been on the internet to understudy fellow humans, life and humans. I see most applications on the internet as CCTV into the truest state of the world. I'm there to pay attention to the response to stimuli of humans and, evolve in my own growth and pursue my substance. So for me, it's worth it to have the Karma app on my phone and always pair to see the state, to listen to its voice. So I'm not into too much of the ongoings of the application, but it has a good model which can be, enhanced. But for it to be enhanced, there needs to be knowledge about the state of the world. There's so many aspects of the world besides, say, the West or developed nations, and you need to have knowledge from this other span of humanity to be able to do something that's, attain full potency in terms of world adjustment. So um, so yes, for me, and again, for consumers of content, it's quite great. I mean, it's okay. If you want to see pictures, videos of people in their moments, yes. You know, um, then if you want to do good, yes, to tip others, it's also an opportunity for you to get some karma and you tip users. That's an act of good. And so again, it depends on your mindset. If you're an investor, investors want to have token there are different types of investors. Some are long term, some want to just get the token and trade it when it rises in price. I've not seen much price change because it started out with people having the mentality of just um, selling up the tokens. Again, uh, yeah, that's what I saw. To adjust that needs an entire culture, an entire curriculum to play out to where people become true fans. You need to build around humans to where humans become owners. And there isn't much yet at this stage that you can do with the karma, even the karma influence in terms of being owner. There isn't much you can do in terms of your say, especially that when they remove the curation rewards that you can give away, then your stake tokens is very limited. It only gives you stake in return at the moment, and so not much of an ownership or influence. Basically, you just stake your token and you can go offline and return there to claim your tokens. What I don't know is if you don't claim, if the tokens return to the reward pool so that you lose out on it. That may be a reason for you to go back and check the platform, but I've not really experimented. I just claim once in a while. I don't know if I've lost claims or I don't really pay attention to that. I was there mostly I mentioned the reasons I was there and to reward people, but I've not been there doing that for a period of time. Then, so for investors, there isn't yet much you can do with the tokens apart from tipping and staking of tokens to get rewards. Um, so I don't know if this will change, but for applications like this on blockchain, most are experimental. You have to give them time to change. So I'm not conclusive when it comes to any application. I give them kudos for inventing something, and give them room to evolve the dream, which is a possibility. As long as the project owner is invested in his dream, backs his dream, whether bulls or bears, that's a good element. I see that to an extent of the owners of Karma because I don't token price has gone down multiple times, but they've been there, so that's a good sign. And the evolution of the app has been ongoing, so that's a good sign as well. So um, the token can have potential because the app does have potential for mainstreamity, but there needs to be, you know, more ownership by its users for people to value the token at all. The culture needs to play out to where people become true fans of, and that's something you can do, like I said, by expanding the scope for what's good. And there are so many ways. Anyway, I'm open to discussions. I can give you advice and knowledge from in the perception of a legitimate illiteracy. It's very powerful knowledge. My contact is going to be underneath this video. And what more? So from an investment standpoint, again, there are different types of investors. If you're there long term, then it's possible to just hold the tokens and then but if there's that ownership element, then you will pursue that the token succeeds. So it will not be reliant just on the owners of the platform, but on regular users as well, the regular investors, to make their investment gain value. But of course, the app has an established app and working, has the potential for growing, to, attaining mainstreamity. It was harder in the beginning to sign up, but they fixed that where you can sign up with just Facebook or stuff like that. So there's potential for mainstreamity in terms of masses of users. So it may be worth it to an extent, but I'm not much of an investor in my mindset, except I have tokens. I bought tokens, and I've not really checked what the value is. But I bought a large bulk of tokens long ago and just left it there. So is it worth it? Again, depends on your mentality. If you're a content creator, you can go there and post your content. One aspect that I think that's missing, which Steam has and is very powerful, is ranking in the search engines. Being an application, I don't think that the content there ranks in the search engines. It's mostly short form content, but it's very powerful. Organic growth via the search engines, branding and everything, where you allow content to rank in the search engines, that's very powerful. So if you're a content creator, depends on what you want. If you just want an internal community to engage with, then you can post content there. But me, I would like a situation where my content appears there and automatically appears in the search engines as well. So that's my preference when it comes to content creation. So uh, then then engagement. If I see that my influence has a measure, even if not in terms of rewards, a measure of effect on visibility, then I can go there when it has masses in a bid to, you know, promote my content organically without really using advertisement, build an audience there and then put my content out. But there's some limitations to content. The way content is displayed, like links are not really clickable, so uh, again, there's room for evolution in all these aspects. So for an investor, if you hold your tokens, you can always stake and have your tokens returned in 3 days. I don't see real movement in the price, so maybe long term. Again, I'm not so into price. I don't know what I've not covered, but that's it. Let me keep it short. Just listen to the entire video, listen to my undertone, the underline, the context, and you'll be able to identify if it's worth it for you. I'm not, it's worth it for, I've used the app, I've been there, and depending on your mindset, it can be worth it. As an application to have, it is definitely worth it. And I just express my views in the eyes of a legitimate illiterate. Uh, if that means something, then you can use that to analyze. And uh, anyway, there's no loss, really. There's no loss being there. Anywhere where people rendezvous, there can't be loss. But we need to establish that even by world standards, return value to humans. Humans should be the scarce model in every project, not bulls or bears. So once there is a rendezvous of humans, and I will be there, it becomes worth it for me. So the other consideration is where you have to save something there. And when it's not decentralized, and it's a bit scary, if you're afraid of the losses. So these are things people weigh, because when changes can just happen and you have saved something. Because when you have a wallet, some people aren't there for even investment or our return on investment, they're just there to save. A wallet is like a bank, some people see it that way. And then when changes can just happen anytime, it gives you the notion that project owners can disappear anytime. Your things can happen, stuff like that. So it's a bit scary, but it's on EOS, and perhaps that helps. I've not gone deep into that. Anyway, your boy Terry, my username is Surpassing Google. Please subscribe to Loggers TV. It's a channel on YouTube that I want to grow. You can also subscribe to this channel. I'll also be uploading this video to a channel called Legitimate Literacy. And yes, you can contact me with your noble dreams, and we can discuss it, and I can see how I can use even my limited resources to help you, or at least direct you with knowledge, courtesy of a legitimate illiterate. So your boy Terry once again. Stay. I don't know if I'll be able to, put this on the Karma app. That's something that was difficult as well. Posting content was difficult, and there is no real way to identify what the errors were. Maybe resources like the RAM or network was short. I've tried to put lengthy videos there, and it wouldn't work. So maybe it only allows short form videos. or maybe you need to have a certain level of resources to be able to put a lengthy video. So the likelihood is that this video will not be on Karma, but perhaps a link to the video. I'll try that. Anyway, your boy Terry once again. Stay awesome.